It won't happen. Why won't it happen, Elder Kirk? You have no faith. The reason why it won't happen is because somebody has to be in the lead. Somebody, everything. Who's gonna do this? Who's gonna do the programming? Who's gonna print the programs? Who's gonna? Why can't God be God? Because God is a God of order, Elder Kirk. And he's not just going to willy-nilly around here. I'm tired of you podcast guys always trying to shut down the church and get mad with the church. I hear God. God is mighty in this hour, and things are happening right now, Elder Kirk. You're not right. Elder Kirk's in his lane. I'm not laying hands. I'm not asking for tithes. I don't want no people. I teach. We discuss. Well, I don't hear any scriptures. I must be doing something. I'm offending you. But remember, it's to grow. And it's to have conversation. And it's time to change the culture. When we change the culture, we'll see different results, everybody. I want y'all to go back to a couple of Elder Kirk's podcasts. My podcasts have always come, I always come full circle because when I study, I'll be like, wow, that's what that meant. See, that's how we learn. We study. We ask God for guidance and wisdom. That's what we're supposed to do. When I say inclusion is not the answer, what I mean is the world coming into the church is not the answer. The world coming into the church is not the answer. And I'll tell you, you invite the world in every time. That's why Trump has some evangelicals on his side. Now, you must remember, every evangelical that he has on his side have money. Now, hold on now. Now, Elder Kirk, wait a minute now. You know how I do. I want to shout out to all my black Republicans that's keeping their mouths shut and staying on the low. You know, the pastors, here down south, because North Carolina is a Republican state, right? Oh. Listen to your pastors. Listen how they talk about the politics, okay? Do that. Because you must understand one thing about Republicans, regardless of whatever color you are. I said Republican, Democrat. Republican, Democrat. Church, Christian. Come on now. When you join that church or you in that church, it's just like you're a Democrat or Republican. You are loyal to whatever that church building is doing. It has nothing to do with God. That's why Elder Kirk was talking about all the fundraisers. We have so many fundraisers. 501c3 has to do fundraisers, okay? All right? That's this government, that's this law. That for them to give assistance or, whatever the tax exemption is, there's things that you have to do. Haven't you ever noticed whenever the government does something for you, there's a penalty if you don't? Wow. That's why I said 501c3 good for business. 501c3 was never meant for the church building. Never meant for the church building. Inclusion is not the answer. If we're supposed to be separate, everybody, if we're supposed to be separated, why do we get along so good with the enemy? Now I remember what that was. I was saying this before and I lost it for a second. I said that now, I was in my car and I said there's something. I said now, I don't even think the devil don't have to say nothing. We just done took over. We just like, man, whatever. I know what you're saying, Elder Kirk. The scriptures talk about this. The scriptures talk about this. Everything ain't the devil. My wife was at a ministry board, and she said every time she turned around, they just talk about the devil. Wait a minute, man. We are some wicked peoples. Do you hear me? We can get mean, man. We'll take you out. We don't need the devil for that. Just make me mad. Come on now. All this pent up anger, all this stuff going on. Man, please. Everything ain't the devil. I had the teaching on that too. Everything ain't the devil. We have to get to the point, y'all. Ask God who I am, who you are. And I'm not talking about this mystic stuff. What is it? Do you know your name? I can't stand that. And then when you say me, I'm not talking about that. Let me help you with this right here. Do you know why I don't like answering when the pastor asks a question? Because regardless of what you say, you're wrong. Now this was with leadership. I stopped asking questions. Because it seemed like every time I said something, I was wrong. That's the brainwash. It wasn't that, well, you're in the ballpark, and it was, no. Because they either try to go deeper or they go in another direction. But you can never, understand this, the pastor always tells you, I'm the leader here, you're the followers. When you get your church, then you can do as you please. But while you're here, my way, my rules. Wait a minute now. We're supposed to be here serving God. God is supposed to give you instructions. It's God's way, His rules. Ooh. We are not where God would have us to be, y'all. Because we're going along to get along. We don't want to lose out on a lot of things. We don't. We don't want to lose out on a lot of things. Understand this. A lot of church buildings, and I said this before, they have to make hard decisions. They have to do things a lot of times that do not line up with the Word of God. Now, why is that? Like I said, because of 501c3. 501c3 is not built around the law of God or what God would have. It's a government situation. A lot of people, y'all are sitting in these churches. You know what? You need to go investigate the 501c3. And I'm talking about the history. My ordination, the church I have my ordination under in Atlanta, they said, hey, come on, we'll give you a charter. We do all the 501c3. We do all that for you. Come on in. No, not me. Not going to happen. Now, like I said, I talked to another young man. I was like, oh, man, we can start a charter school. We can do some things, man. Some things can happen. I'm going to do my homework first. Now, for that, because I'm really big into homeschooling, honestly, I'm just not Elder Kirk. And I'm not just talking about Christian homeschooling. I'm just talking about, getting them out of the public school system. I was in the grocery store the other day, and the young lady, her mother was talking to her, and the mother said, I gave you a biscuit. What I got for you wasn't good. She said, Mom, I'm starving by the time I get home. Come on now. We don't want to talk about that. Now, I'm not talking about, doing like, they were Caucasian, and I'm pretty sure what the young lady said, I'm starving by the time I get home. My children were starving for years by the time they came home. When they came home, there was some food there. Because I knew and I saw. I said, because I was seeing in the school, I was like, man, there's some big boys in there. And they giving them that little bit of food. I know they scarfing that down and they hungry after they get finished with that. But that was how they ration. Come on now. I think we're going to need to do some stuff that the government's doing right in front of your face, But you believe in so much of what you think your tax money is doing. Come on now, that's somewhere else. I'm gonna leave that alone. But that's coming up pretty soon. I've said this before, everybody. I've said this before, and I say this in the black churches. I said that the black churches need to begin to teach true black history, and I'm not just talking about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Now, I mean, when it comes to the church, they're not going to teach you Malcolm X anyway. That's what the problem is. Just because he was Muslim? A lot of the stuff he was saying, I tell you what, there are a lot of Christians that share his quotes now, because a lot of what him and King was saying then lines up right now. And it's been going on since the 80s, 90s, into these, where we are now. It's always been this way. But black churches need to begin. Y'all just need to start teaching black. Oh, we just teach Jesus. We teach Jesus as all you need. Now, that's the tradition that we need to get away from. Oh, Elder Kirk, blasphemy. Now, understand what I mean when I say that. These children need to know more. This is a world that we live in. Some of you may not have, and I haven't said this, let me I'll always keep y'all refreshed on this. I do not hold God in just those 66 books, because there's too much that I cannot explain in this world. Have you ever looked at the Discovery Channel? Have you seen some of the things that this weather does that we don't even know about? Can't even understand or explain. And you're going to tell me that he can only operate in those 66 books? How can you tell me to take God out of the box when the only way I can get him is to go to the box? And if I don't continue to go to the box, I'm going to hell. What happens when you begin to grow? Some of us don't know. Because we're stifled by the building. There's nothing else outside that building. Will you please understand? I'm saying this because this is what I thought. I thought the only way that I was making God happy was by making the pastor happy and being a good servant. Because that's what I was taught. If the pastor is listening, please accept my offense. Accept my offense. You were getting on me, but you couldn't get there on time. But you sure could dance around and make me feel smaller than a little pea. And I'm talking about green peas. But you couldn't get there. But I couldn't hold you up on that because you had me brainwashed. You made sure that I stayed small. You can't tell me. I tell you. I'm going to break those chains off of these people. Now, I know you're not going to invite me to your church, because what you want to do, you have to keep them because the money has to come. How is that when you're saying that God will supply the need, but instead you want to keep telling them to keep coming back? It is supposed to be a revolving door. You are supposed to teach them, and they are supposed to take it to the world. And then everybody begins to believe. Can I teach? Now, I said this before. People don't say this. When God chose the Jews in the Bible, they were supposed to show the world who God was. But instead, he's all ours. We're going to keep him to ourselves. We're not going to tell anybody. The only thing the world saw was, boy, they are getting their butts whipped by this God. Good grief. Man, what is wrong with them? They just as stupid as all get out. That's why I said, if you do the same law, you're going to get the same result. You won't get out of the box. If I continue to teach you out of the Old Testament, do you hear me? And this is for the Hebrew, if Israelites, if I just continue to teach you out of the Old Testament and you don't cross over, there's not going to be no revelation. there's not going to be no growth. You're not going to be able to think outside. Come on now.